very talented in their own right. So I'm going to bring up to the stage Albert Corey and Andrea Adams. So let's start with you, Albert. Just give the audience just briefly what you do. You're going to make us laugh for sure. So yeah.
Hey everybody, my name is Albert Corey. I'm the wealth specialist where we're going to show you how you can laugh and increase your bottom line with no stress. It's what I've been doing for almost 40 years and I'm not giving up. Stop changing the world by laughter and putting more money in your pocket.
Awesome. Andrea, please introduce yourself.
I'm Andrea Adams. I'm here in the Sunshine State of Florida in Jacksonville, and I am a mind and communication and relationship coach. I specialize working with youths.
Love it. I do too. I love working with today's youth, and I've been doing that for 25 years now, and I know it's incredible. So Albert, what has Think and Grow Rich, the book, meant to you? And talk about what the last 4 days and your experience with this event.
In simple terms, it says success means you can't do it alone. It's about collaboration. Because every time I tune on, it could have been on 5 minutes in my car, your light bulb goes ding, 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 chicken dinner. Your life is changing and you're coming up with different things that are going to change the world. And by sitting at your home watching Netflix, it ain't happening. So go out and meet cool people, whether virtual or live, and good things will happen.
Yeah, collaboration has been key, and we've seen that now demonstrated over the last 4 days, where the Los Angeles Tribune have put together close to 150 people, 150 speakers. And I know he said they're checking into it. We think it could be a world record. We'll see, but isn't that awesome to be a part of? So Andrea, what about you? What has your experience been with Think and Grow Rich, and what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, I was introduced to that book by my mentor, John Tallarico at the time, and I was doing a program with Bob Proctor that's Thinking into Results. And for me, most of all, when I think of Think and Grow Rich, what I grasp out of it is the potential that each and every one of us have, the amazing potential of just thinking something, and we can actually create whatever it is that we want, whatever reality that we have. We can just think it. It's two-part. We think it, and then it comes into fruition.
Yes, for sure. And it just dawned on me that we've got a mindset expert here with Andrea and a finance expert here with Albert. So we can kind of talk about both of those conversations, because Think and Grow Rich is not just about money in your pocket. However, that is the end result. So Albert, what advice can you give for people to really start going into more of that direction and thinking about not only can we be more rich in our lives, but rich in our pocketbook?
I think when you start educating yourself, now education could mean as simple as watching I think my new school of thought is everybody raise their hand and say, I'm going to spend 15 minutes a day on work and be the most successful person to change the world. So everybody's got to raise their hands and say that. And then that will start to change, because now your mindset's going to change. You're going to have the ta-ta light bulb. And when the light bulb comes off, good things are happening. So do that 15 minutes a day. And guess what? It could be clicking a YouTube video. It could be even watching cool stuff on Netflix. Because Netflix is not always bang, bang love stories. There's some amazing documentaries that you can watch and start change your thinking. And that's all it's about. Change your thinking, and your wallet and life will change.
Love it. Love it. So Andrea, on the thinking side of this, what advice can you give people that they can take away right now to help them to really stay into that mindset and make Think and Grow Rich a practice in their life, and not just a one-time deal when you're reading the book, but to keep it going?
I would say hold that book like you would hold it a Bible. I would say you should highlight the things that you know stands out to you, because everyone have a different journey. So depending on your journey, you highlight the things that apply to it at its time. But just as you meditate daily and you create certain routines daily, you ensure that you have Think and Grow Rich as part of your daily routine in terms of, as Albert say, you reading it and you're developing, because it really does help with personal development.
Love everything that both of you have said. We're going to switch gears just real quickly and talk about podcasting. Now, I know, Albert, you do a lot of YouTube videos, so understand the impact that podcasting can make in the world. And Andrea, you are part of the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network, and it's such a delight to have you be a part of that. So, Andrea, from a podcasting perspective, how has that changed you and your business in elevating your brand and your expertise?
Okay, so for me, from a podcasting point of view, I have been focusing on books because I am the founder of a book club. And what I found, it's called KEG, Reading for Knowledge, Empowerment, and Growth. So when you apply principles, because all the information that you need to grow as a person is there in the books. So if you're able to apply it, it actually does help you to grow individually. It helps to grow, as the Wheel of Life says, financially. It helps you to grow mentally. It helps you to grow in your social realm. And it helps to give you that balance. And once you can create that balance, then you can actually have that opportunity to be whatever you conceive yourself to be. So for me, I've used those principles and I've applied it to myself. It has helped me. And I know those who do apply it, they can say, hey, it has helped me. It's just the law. Some things are universal laws, and that is one of the laws. You apply the principles, and the principles always remain that way.
So in terms of, from a podcasting perspective, how has podcasting elevated you and your brand?
Me? No.
And the expert? Yeah, no, I want Andrea
Okay.
to just finish that question, and
Sure.
we'll hop over to you.
Oh, my apology. So it actually helps you to help people to become aware of what is it that you have to offer. Because when you can speak on topics that can help people, they tend to research what you're about. They get to know you as a person, and that way it helps with brand exposure. I always say that you are your brand, you are who you represent, and people buy from people that they like.
Yes, people they like, know, and trust, exactly. So Albert, we're going to get you switched over to a podcast yet, but you do a lot of stuff on YouTube. And so whether you have a podcast or a YouTube channel, it's all kind of blending together anyway. How has that made a difference in your business?
By the way, I do have a podcast. I just have been putting out too much on YouTube and lazy to put it on my podcast network. But at the end of the day,
how did I not know that about you?
yes. At the end of the day, it's like, I don't know about your people. How many of you want to start their own TV station? Right? We're all old enough. There was just 3 TV stations, and then you had that little dial, right? What podcasting does, now you got taxmantv.com podcast, call it whatever you want. So with just one click of a button on your phone, bam, you could be a global phenomenon. It's that easy. Dude, you click a button, and guess what? You're a star. And can I tell you how long time ago I figured this out? True story. I used to, back in the day, do a lot of Facebook Lives. So I go to a Grant Cardone conference, and I would do one every day. And all of a sudden, people come up and say, oh, you're Albert. Okay, I don't know who you are. Yeah, you're the one who does the podcast or the Facebook Live every day. And you are changing my life. I'm like, okay.
Love it.
Bottom line is, it's now we're all in the game, dude. We don't have to be ABC, CBS, Fox, all these major networks. And guess what? With the click of a button, baby, you are a movie star. You are an influencer. Now, we don't have as many downloads as Sandy of 8 million, but you just don't know that one spark you're out there can change somebody by just pushing a button. Go bing on your phone, and guess what? You're a movie star. You're a TV star. Whatever you want to broadcast, you're now an instant broadcaster.
I love it. And yeah, let me just say, having my podcast, at first, I talk about this all the time, it was a very expensive hobby. And I loved it. I love talking to people. I love asking people questions. And I actually started my podcast for a little bit of selfish reasons in that I'm such a self-help junkie that was my opportunity to talk to people and learn, right? Because I constantly have to keep learning and learning. Well, here I am almost 3 years later. I had 70,000 downloads in the month of September. I just pulled up my stats today. I'm on track for 90,000 in the month of October. So if that gives you some sort of insight, there's a need out there.
Right.
Because with a podcast, here's the thing. I have, I believe, episode 250. Yeah, 250 was dropped tomorrow. Tomorrow. I drop episodes on Wednesdays and Fridays. So episode 250 goes tomorrow. So I have 250 episodes. 250 episodes that's content that I can repurpose, right? So if you have a business, whether you're brick and mortar, online, it doesn't matter. Let me ask everybody a question, and I'd like to see if the audience can put a number 1 in the chat if you think you're an expert in your field. So let me see. We've got a lot of people. Yeah, we've got a lot of people watching right now. If you're an expert in your field, put a 1 in the comments. And if you have a podcast, put a 2 in the comments. I'd love to just see. Yeah, there we go. I'm a 1 and I'm a 2. Yes, for sure. Because here's the thing. If you don't have a podcast and you think you're an expert in your field, you're walking away from who knows how much potential revenue, just the impact. Like
Right.
for me, it was all about the impact that I can make, right? My podcast is called Happiness Solved because happiness is a choice and the choice is yours. So, here's the thing. If you really, really, really want to grow your brand, you gotta launch a podcast. And we have a free gift that Michael Silvers, who was unable to make it today, he and I are managing the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. We have a free gift for you. If you text LA Pod to 26786, you will get a list of all the ways in which to make podcasting part of your business and how to monetize it. And so if you're interested in that list, text LA Pod to 26786. So with that, Albert, I want to ask you, in terms of the message that you reach, can you just talk a little bit briefly? Because what I want people to understand is that you're an accountant, right? You're a CPA, and you've been doing this for 40 years. What are some of the things that you talk about on your YouTube channel and your podcast to demonstrate how anybody, that's an expert, there's always something to be talked about?
It's simple. Name of my show is Rock Your Bottom Podcast. You can go to Taxman Podcast. It should be up and running. But anyways, so my spin is business success could be making sure you sleep well, eat well, walk, dance, chew bubble gum. It doesn't matter. So that's my spin, is what can I help people to get their business to the next level? And like I said, if you don't sleep well, you're not eating well. Maybe you don't go to events. Maybe you don't have the right cell phone. I don't know. Maybe you're not talking to Sandy to get the podcast division rocking. Just doesn't know. But by getting it out there, you can change the world. Like I gave that great example. Because you can change the world because the people, and as TV gets crappy and the internet gets crappy. Oh, I'm sorry if I can't say that word. Beep. We'll cut that. Sorry. That podcast, you can now listen to whatever you want to talk about. That's how cool. Okay, that's how, whatever. From sports to dance to skating to tax, helping kids, reading, it doesn't matter. Start a podcast, and I'll guarantee you somebody who is out there wants to know.
Absolutely. And yesterday we had an amazing guest that we were talking to, and what he said was so interesting. And I want to just reiterate that, because so many people that have a podcast, they end up not sticking it out, and they give it up. And why do they give up? Because they're not seeing results. And it's probably because they're not doing things in a specific way that they need to be done in order to make it grow. But here's the thing, people are like, well, I was only getting 2,500 downloads a month. Okay, that's 2,500 people that you didn't have before, right? So that's really incredible. There is a question for international, that 26786, that is only good in the United States. So for our international listeners, if you would like a copy of that list, you can go ahead and send me an email. I just put it in the chats. It's just sandy@sandyscarlotta.com, and I will be sure to get that right out to you. Andrea, we only have a couple of minutes left. Can you just tell the audience, in terms of podcasting, what is the most important thing that you have found that a podcast has done for your business?
Okay, the most important thing I found that is done is actually give me that market or that platform in order to really and truly market what I'm about. So the thing is that you may have a podcast based on a specific topic. For me, it's books, but my focus is really on mindset and ensuring that my listeners are able to leave each episode with a great mindset. But it has also allowed me to be able to talk about other things that I do, because with mindset, one of the other businesses I have is also a health business in terms of the product that I supply. So it allows me that platform to be able to talk about it, and for people to be able to say about, hey, who is Andrea? And be able to research who I am and have access to whatever else it is that I have to offer. I believe that being a podcaster is actually a brand for an individual.
Oh yeah, for sure. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I have episode 250 dropping tomorrow. So what does that do for the SEO for my website and for me? So when you Google Sandy Scarlotta, there's so many pages and pages and pages, because every time I post an episode, that's just increasing my brand. And so it's going to, go ahead, Albert.
Can I ask you one more question?
Please do.
What was the best episode, hint, hint, you had in Chicago? And what
Okay.
number is it? Thank you. Sorry.
You know what? Well, that one was out, but,
Sorry.
I dropped the interview with Mo Rock last Friday because I interviewed him too live. So they're kind of putting me between a rock and a hard place here, because it's okay, Albert. Yes, I interviewed Albert live, but I also interviewed Mo Rock live. And that episode dropped last Friday, and it was just incredible. It was the first time I got to meet Mo Rock in person, and it was just incredible. And like, for me, the best part of my podcast is I talk to so many different people of different walks of life. And, I've had famous people on, professional athletes, and because I'm a professional athlete, so I love talking to athletes. So it just lights me up. And if I can just add one more thing to the listeners, because I want to give you a golden nugget. So for anybody who is thinking about starting a podcast, Katrina, I was just reading a comment there that's kind of funny. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, the most important thing that I want you to focus on now is, what is your why? Why are you starting a podcast? And it's so important because podcasting is a long game. Do you know that about 90% of podcasters drop off and stop after less than 10 episodes? I mean, think about that. So if you don't know your why, don't waste your time. Wait until you have that why to launch your podcast. Make sure that it's something that makes your heart sing, that you're excited about. Because if you're not, the audience is going to know it. They're going to feel it through your voice, right? They're going to see it in your face. You have to bring that energy, and in order to have that energy, you have to know your why. That's with everything in life, right? Why do you get married? Why do you have kids? Why do you start a business? Why do you do what you do? Why do you go to college? If you don't have that why nailed down, you're going to give up, right? So that's the most important thing, is really know your why. And again, if you have any questions about this, even just go ahead and text LA Pod to 26786. Because even if you don't want to launch a podcast, you know, we help in so many other ways. And we also have a Facebook group that we're going to be putting tips in, not only about launching a podcast, but being a podcast guest. Because being a guest is a really, if you don't want to launch your own podcast, just be a podcast guest and get out there and be on as many podcasts as you can. So, Albert, any final words? Anything else? Any golden nuggets that you would like to share with the audience?
Absolutely. You know what? You know how you really get started, Sandy, to get started on a podcast? Can I tell you the real truth?
Please.
Push the button on your phone and boom, it's a podcast. That's that simple. Listen, it took me a little bit to get started because I thought back in the Stone Ages you needed equipment until somebody told me, push the blanking button and then you'll have a podcast. And then whatever
you know, one of the most successful podcasters, I think, still does it on the phone.
Thank you. So it's just pushing the button, Sandy. Sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to, you're the expert, but you know, I'm the guy who comes up with the craziness. But that's all it is. Don't be afraid to push the damn button. And good things will happen.
And here's the thing. The more you do it, the better you get.
Right.
Like, I had a Blog Talk radio show from 2008, 9, and 10. And I went back and listened a couple years ago and I was like, oh my gosh, it was so bad. But here's the thing. When I go back and listen to the first episode that I did, that was launched in February of 2021, it really wasn't, it was okay, but it wasn't that good. Now, it's just, you get better the more you do it. So it's like, don't wait until things are perfect. You know, done is better than perfect.
That's right.
Andrea, any last words for the audience before we?
Of course, I always encourage people, whatever it is you're doing, just do it. As Sandy and Albert said, is you just have to do it. The first time is never perfect, but with practice, you become better. And believe you me, just keep doing it and you'll find that, hey, you look back at it and you'll be like, hey, this is a bird's eye view of where I've been, and you'll be very proud of yourself. That's it.
Thank you so much, Andrea and Albert. Mo Rock, happy you're back.
Well, Sandy, thank you for that. Albert, Andrea, it was a pleasure to hear both of you speak. I took a lot of notes in the green room, and I'm so excited for our next special guest. So thank you, Sandy. You're going to actually be joining me for this next segment as well, Sandy. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in 1 minute.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe